Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Outcast. I am your host, Wolf, and I am joined by.
HC.
And Rush 2112.
And we are here to finally, after all this time, if you haven't noticed from the thumbnail, cover RWBY Volume 6.
Hallelujah.
Says the guy who was kind of the reason it took so long.
Okay, you know what? Getting to watch the entire volume, I didn't have much time. That's on me. I did took quite a while to watch all of it. However, and that's a
However.
big however,
Nothing happened and we can move on.
Fair enough. I agree. So moving right along then. Let's mute.
and to cover his threats. If you mute me now, I'm muting your life.
That's, is that a threat?
I wonder. Never mind. We're just moving right along. Let's jump right into it then. And this actually works out very well because Volume 6's soundtrack just recently released, as well as the first RWBY novel, so you get to enjoy even more RWBY. So,
Wait, in terms of novel, like, is it a novelization or is the
no, it's
novel
a
canon?
completely brand new canon story in the world of RWBY, written by
Oh,
E.C. Myers, called
that's cool.
After the Fall,
Okay, that's cool.
which maybe I'll talk about at a later date. We will see. But Volume 6.
You did. Volume 6.
Let's start off with our overall general non-spoiler thoughts. Who would like to go first?
It was good. It was good. People who watched our previous Ruby videos might know that I wasn't the biggest fan of Volume 5. Nothing bad was necessarily in it. I just felt that it dragged a bit. Um, and I did enjoy Volume 6 a lot more. Like, I enjoyed a lot of the plot elements that were thrown in, like a lot of the twists regarding some stuff caught me off guard. I enjoyed the action. This is the best animation the show has ever had, and you can see how they're improving from each season. And I enjoy this season. It's not. I won't say it's one of my favorites per se, but I did enjoy it.
That's a little bit surprising. I figured you would have liked Volume 6 a lot more than that, but I understand. I get it. So, Rush?
It was awful.
Oh, now
No,
that I didn't expect.
Yeah. No, I did enjoy this one. I'm on the same boat with HC. I enjoyed it a little bit more than I did Volume 5. I did like Volume 5's ending a bit more than this one, but the overall season was just, like HC said, the animation was better. I think the story progression was a bit better. But then again, they weren't dealing with everybody split up for most of the season.
Yeah.
So I think having them together was kind of what really made this season a bit better than season 5. Not that I don't enjoy the idea of them being split up like in season 5. It's just they could have done it better.
It was an experiment with a team that is definitely still, even now, relatively new and still learning a lot. So they tried. It faltered. It didn't quite work as well as they would have hoped or would have liked, I'm sure. But it turned out into something that was at least okay. And you're definitely not alone listening to the fan base. Many people weren't that happy with volumes 4 or 5. And volume 6 was a huge bring people back into the show. This is, the proving moment, and it really proved a lot to a lot of people. Like volume 6 was a huge success, I think, for RWBY as a whole in terms of how it was in terms of its reception. And I agree, definitely Volume 6 is a huge was very I loved Volume 6. It was great. Everything about it definitely blows Volumes 4 and 5 out of the water in a lot of ways. I still personally like Volumes 4 and 5 and I thoroughly enjoyed them, but Volume 6, I would be lying if I said I didn't think it was better than those two, because I absolutely do. As you both said, the animation, everything just looks better. I don't know how that's possible when the show already looked good, but Volume 6 makes everything just look even better still. So yeah, overall great Volume 6.
Before we start going over this episode by episode, though, there's one thing I do want to bring up. To those who don't know, the voice actor for Crow, Vic, I forgot his last name. Oh my god.
I can't even. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his last name. Vignoa. I tried to pronounce it and I said I wasn't. I'm a liar. Yeah, but Vic. We'll just say Vic, the voice actor for Crow.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, he was very recently accused of some
Many
sexual
things.
harassment.
Yeah.
And the team who made RWBY then claimed that they have cut connections with him. So that probably means that he won't come back for any future volumes. Which this is his volume. This is probably his final performance as Crow. What do you have to say on that?
For myself, I mean, we've already seen them have to replace one VA, that being Rin. I don't know if you noticed, but Rin was used to, in volumes 1 and 2, Rin was voiced by, if I'm not mistaken, Rin was voiced by the creator of RWBY, Montiom. Before he passed, that was his character to voice. And after he passed, they had to replace the VA. If I'm not mistaken, they replaced him with his brother. If I'm wrong, feel free to yell at me in the comments below. But if I'm not mistaken, he's the one who replaced him. And honestly, if I didn't know it, I wouldn't have known it. Right? It's one of those things. And I think they've replaced a few other VAs, like the VA for Mercury has also changed from, Volume 3 to Volume 4 and stuff of that nature. So, again, it's one of those things where if I didn't know it, I probably also wouldn't have noticed it. So, I'm not too worried. Do what?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, continue on.
Oh.
You paused for a bit, so I thought you were done.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about, it kind of sucks. I do like Vic's voice for Crow. It does sound extremely good. Like, it's a very pleasing voice to listen to. But I'm not too worried. I do think they'll get someone in to replace him. I know a lot of people will immediately jump on to the idea of, well, they'll probably just kill off Crow. Maybe. That is a possibility. We'll just have to wait and see until Volume 7 comes out. But I definitely do think, I'm not too worried about them finding a replacement. So far, they've done really well with it.
So, 2 questions. Have they, when did this happen?
After Volume 6
And when is Season 7, or when is Volume 7 coming out?
So it happened a little while after Volume 6 finished airing, if I'm not mistaken. So everything for Volume 6 was done. So he got to play Crow throughout
Volume
that much.
6. But they probably recorded some of his lines for 7 is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's actually a question that's worth asking, because from what I've read, they're beginning production on the next season, on the next volume, as soon as the current one finishes.
I don't think that's how they do it. I think they tend to take a bit of a break. And plus they had, during Volume 6, while they were doing all of that, they definitely had a bit of break after Volume 6 aired, because they had to work on not just RWBY, but also another huge show, Genlock.
Genlock, that's right, Genlock.
So Genlock was another big show that aired a little while after RWBY Volume 6 finished airing. So they had 2 really huge shows back to back, so I think they took a bit of a break. And it was during that break that that Vic was, let go of as being the VA of Crow. So with that said, I don't know how much was done VA-wise or anything between Volume 6 and Volume 7, working on Volume 7. I don't know how much could have been done or if anything was even done, so I don't think that's a huge worry. But again, it's one of those have to wait and see sort of deals.
Okay. I just want to bring this up because I did like Vic's performance as Crow, and it is sad to see him go, but at the same time, I understand why he has to go.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
From a voice acting side, I'm always interested in these things. Well, okay, not the topic there, but I'm always interested in voice acting. Yeah,
And
really
hearing
important.
how the change and seeing how well someone
Well,
can mimic it,
actually,
stuff like
no.
that.
I firmly believe that there's always somebody who can sound exactly similar.
Mm.
It may not be the one chosen, but there's always somebody who can do the same exact voice. No voice is truly unique.
Yeah, if they try hard enough, they could probably find someone who can replicate it to a T, most likely.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, with that said,
well, if
first
we're done,
episode.
yeah, if we're done with closing thoughts, episode 1, Argus Limited. Thoughts.
By the way, before spoilers to people who haven't watched the volume yet, even though
if you're
it's
here
been out for quite a while.
If you're here and you're wanting to listen to us talk about RWBY and you've not listened to Volume 6, spoilers for the foreseeable future. We're going to be talking about each episode in order and some of our general thoughts on them and what happens in them, and pointing out little tidbits that we enjoyed or disliked, things of that nature. Yeah. Now you know.
With that said, Argus Limited. I'll just say that every fight scene on a train is a great fight scene, as shown by movies like Spider-Man 2. So this is an awesome fight scene.
Yeah, it's a great opener. Like, Argus Limited is probably one of the strongest opening episodes we've had in RWBY to date, I feel. So, yeah, I agree. Like, a great fight scene, and really just immediately shows off right out the gate just how much has improved from Volume 5 to Volume 6.
And it also introduced us to Maria Calavera.
Yes, it does. A few small things before that. I love the adorable smile that RWBY gives at the beginning when she presents everyone with the gifts she bought them. It's great, it's cute, it's adorable. More adorable Rubes, please. I also enjoyed the little scene between Ilya and Blake and Sun. That's a great little scene. Yeah. And I love the outfit change for Ilya. Like, she looks very nice in that, very adorable. So, and also going to point out very quick, the music for this volume, I've continued to love the background music and the soundtrack for everything RWBY's done, but this one I think really nailed it out of the park with setting up its scenes and stuff of that nature.
Okay.
But yes, we get to see a brand new Grimm, the Chimera Grimm, and its debut, and it works really well, and it's a very neat little thing. And our new, very quick intro to a new character, Maria Calavera.
Who we'll get to later, as
a little bit.
As you know, people who watch the show probably, people who didn't watch this volume are not listening to this anymore. If you do, your problem. But we know the people who do know that she has a bigger role later down the road.
And I think it's one of the first times, I don't know, it's definitely a character who, as far as I can tell, she's a lot of people's favorites. She became a lot of people's favorites very quickly. And that's definitely a little bit surprising.
There is something funny about the sassy and experienced old lady, I won't lie. There's something funny about that.
This is true. And she definitely brings a lot of the sass.
I'd expect nothing more of an old lady.
This is also true.
Well, you know, sassy old men, sassy old characters, whether male or female, are always kind of fun to have around. As you can see, we have this in the form of Wolf. There you go.
Hi.
Wow, the sass is just emanating.
I'm not really sassy, more cantankerous, but anyways.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say to HC. It's more grumpy old men and sassy.
He has his moments of sass.
Maybe.
Sometimes.
You'll never know.
One thing
you'll never know.
Another small thing I'd like to point out: that arm break sound, Jesus.
Yeah, you know, I just now that you mentioned it, I remember watching this and going, ooh.
Yeah, that sounded terrible. And the screams off that, like, you'll get a few different people screaming in pain in this show, and And especially in this volume, we'll get to another one later on that I want to point out. But yeesh, people are really good at doing that, and it's
Yeah.
don't like.
It's like
Don't be so
it's
good at doing
like a Netherlands in your next Mortal Kombat game. Use that sound effect for that will be something.
It's like, so how do you want me to channel this scream? Like you're not being paid.
Ouch.
One way to get that scream, I guess. So, anything else about the first episode? Because it's really just a big fight scene, which...
For the most part, a big fight scene with a little bit of flashbacks on getting onto the train and kind of setting everything up for that. So not a lot going on with it. It's, again, mostly just to sell the fight, set up to sell the big fight scene on top of the train with the Grimm. But it works very well.
So moving on to episode 2.
You have any other thoughts to add real quick, Rush?
No, you guys pretty much covered it. I was definitely gonna bring up the arm break too, but you got to do it first.
It's that's just one thing you can't forget about that episode. But yeah, a good opening episode.
Yep, a fun opening episode, which leads us to episode 2.
Uncovered.
You know what? Rush barely talked last time. You want to start this one?
Yeah, not really. I'm just kidding. So, yeah, I actually like this episode because we had all this time talking about the relic, and like in all of past season volume, and it's like, well, what the hell does it even do? And it's just like, why is it so important? And we finally get some backstory on it.
We at first learned in a flashback that the lamp is called the Relic of Knowledge, and that it can answer 3 questions every 100 years.
Yeah.
And supposedly Oz has already used all 3 of those questions.
But on that note, can I ask something? How come is that in most media genies are blue? Is this like a rule or something?
It's not a rule, but I think it's a good way to show that they're not human.
Aladdin did it first.
Yeah. And you know what? If you mention that, Blue Will Smith is fucking terrifying, and no one can change my opinion on it. That movie sucked. Okay, sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry. What is terrifying?
Blue Will Smith.
Oh, Blue Will Smith.
What did you think he said? Maybe don't answer that question.
Yeah, don't answer this, please. Please don't answer that.
Okay, so apparently a book describes the smoke that transforms into a genie as blue, and so they just actually carried the color over to the skin, I guess.
Well, that's an explanation.
And of course, Jinn is just the name of genies.
Yeah.
Or it's like they're... Yeah.
It's just an abbreviation of Genie, and it's just her name, Jin, Jin. Works well, kind of gets the point across.
Yeah, but the basic point is they find Genie named Jin. We found out that Ozpin, used. Did he use all of the questions or just one? Because
Just
she does.
one.
Because Ruby does answer something, ask something.
So
yeah. Ozpin said he used all of them, but that was to use the meme format. That was a fucking lie.
Yeah.
But they find out, and Ruby activates it, and she was able to ask a question.
we also got another small reveal that surprised no one, but still a little bit of a reveal this episode.
Again, my memory is a bit hazy, so please remind me.
Cinder isn't dead.
Oh yeah. Like you said, is anyone surprised? I mean,
Some people really hoped she died in Volume 5. surprisingly enough.
Yeah,
to
one of
apparently
them,
move
but
on
I
from
knew
her.
she didn't.
Oh yeah, I think it was fairly obvious personally that yeah, she's probably not. She's definitely not dead. She's coming back. This
Well,
proved it very quickly.
we never saw the body hit the water. So, with all due respect, yeah, kind of
This is true.
unpredictable.
But going into a little bit of detail about, we also learned that, the cover up for Leo, that he didn't actually betray, that, they covered up that he died, a hero, stuff of that nature. And we learned a little bit about Oz's past, where he has been betrayed before in the past, that Leo wasn't the first one to betray him, and that, he's very, that's kind of why he lies and tells people the things he does. And this episode is definitely like set up for the next one, because we definitely have Oz being at odds with the rest of the group somewhat here. We even have, Crow trying to step in, and Blake, Weiss, and Yang all pointing weapons at him.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
Yeah, it was. I agree. And I love the build up to the scene where right before Jin appears, where you have all the music and it just completely goes silent. All the animation stops. I love that. How they reveal that. Everything about that is just great, in my opinion.
Well, like you said, this does leads us to episode 3, which is a
These
bit of
two are
a
definitely, like, I think this one and a little bit of episode 4 are definitely a big kind of 3-parter. But yeah, if you want to get straight into it, episode 3, The Lost Fable.
and I just opened this here just to let the viewers know when I got when I got around to watching the season, this volume, I got to this episode, and in the middle of it, I saw Wolf was online, and and like the first thing I told him watching this episode, do you want to say it or should I?
Go for it. It's your moment.
Okay, so I'm saying, so Oz been banged Salem. What in there? I don't even.
Well, I mean, they were in a relationship together before Oz got sick.
I mean, we all know the tried and true
Oh no.
saying here. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Now, granted, turning like the evil incarnate of death itself is a bit extreme, but still lives up to the saying. What did you think I was gonna say?
Something worse, obviously. But you didn't. I'm proud.
That bitch crazy.
I mean, it's not wrong. You are right there.
Well,
I was actually sorry. I was actually thinking that they would the gods would actually fight against each other, but I was kind of surprised when they actually, instead of having a god being fight, they're like, she told me this, is like, oh, okay, you're right, let's kill her. let's ruin everything.
That is true. Like, it's actually a really good moment. Normally when you see something like that, it's like, okay, the gods are going to fight and they're going to destroy everything. But no, it's very quickly that's alleviated and dealt with, and it's immediately turned into, hey, she's lying to you. She's trying to trick you. She came to me first. She did not come to you first. And so that ends up basically being the entire tale, is that Ozma and Salem knew each other in the past. There was a previous version of humanity that lived with the two gods of this world, the god of light and the god of dark. And Jen tells us a story of how Ozma, back then, as he was known, rescued Salem from a tower that looks oddly familiar to the Beacon Tower, to the School of Beacon in present day, before it was destroyed. And they go around adventuring and doing all sorts of things, and then Ozma gets sick from a cold and dies. And that basically, be healthy, kids, because if you get sick, the person who loves you the most might go mad and just try and destroy the world and everything. So just stay healthy. Don't die from a sickness.
Might accidentally get humanity killed.
Yeah, you
And
might
then
actually
get
get
Yeah.
humanity
resurrected.
killed and resurrected and all that good stuff. Like, just don't get sick. That's your lesson.
You
That's
know,
your life lesson here.
you know something. You know something. Everybody is kind of mad on Aspen for keeping secrets. Between you and me, if your dad caused someone to go against the god's wish and pretty much wiped out the entire of humanity, you'll be pretty fucked up too.
Oh,
Let's be honest.
yeah.
Hey, let's be honest. If that chick you banged went crazy and destroyed the whole world, I wouldn't want anybody to know either.
And killed your
Yeah.
kids.
And killed your kids.
It's possibly not 100% on that, but we're pretty sure the kids are definitely dead. But
Honey, I murdered the kids.
yeah. Yeah.
That's the dark sequel that Disney will never do.
But we learn. I love how the show goes through showing like, hey, Salem's immortal, and like it doesn't show it on screen, but like we see her trying to kill herself. Like, wow, I can't believe they actually did that within the show. But like, it's kind of dark this episode in terms of Salem's immortal. She cannot die. That's the big reveal here.
But
she cannot be killed.
another thing I want to praise is that they could have totally chipped out and just say just leave a story of Osbin and Salem had a thing in the past, and it's and tell us that Salem being heartbroken over his death is the reason why the world is like this, is the reason why she's like this. That's all. That's all and good. But they actually went to show that I really got the feeling that they did love each other, and her pain feels legit. Like when she tries to
does.
kill herself, it's not just "ooh, I can believe they did." It's like you feel her pain, not physical, but
Well, I mean,
mental.
you
that
can
she
hear
wants
the
it all
physical
over.
too. Like
Yeah, but again, like physical is a given because stabbing yourself kind of hurts. I don't know. Don't try it.
Don't. Yeah.
But
don't.
you can feel that she is trying to put an end to her suffering, but she can't do it. That was a really good, great episode. I'll even go on and say that this might be my favorite episode in the volume.
Honestly, I agree. Like, this is, if you've listened to me talk on here on the Outcast and the Berkcast, you'll definitely probably have learned that I love world building. And this episode is like world building the episode. And so I agree, this definitely stands out as probably my favorite episode of the volume as well. Like, we learned so much about stuff that we didn't necessarily need to know, but we know now. We learned how the moon was destroyed and how it became what it became. By basically, as the fan base puts it, the god of darkness yeeting the moon.
They noped out of existence.
All because one woman tried to oppose them.
Actually, in terms of structure and even a bit of plot elements, this really reminded me of the flashback episode in The Legend of Korra, which shows how the first Avatar came to be.
You're right. I agree. It definitely has that kind of vibe to it, and it's done just as well. I feel too.
Yeah, I love that episode in Korra, and I love the episode here. Usually a history lesson in a show like this can be boring, but they do it really well because, again, like I said, you feel it. It's not just Jin telling you the story. You see the story, you feel the story, you feel the emotion.
I think it helps a lot probably that you also get to see and hear and feel like some of the other characters, reactions to it as well. Like, you get to see, they see some of the thing. All we see is a shadow of Salem stabbing herself, but RWBY actively sees that, and you get to see her reaction to that, and how much it shocks her and frightens her somewhat. And you can even see that these characters, like, what they know of Salem definitely changes in their eyes somewhat, and how they view Salem changes a little bit, right? Like, yeah, she might still be evil,
I'll even argue it kind of changes how the viewers see her, because kind of jumping a bit ahead in the next episode, you see her being informed that Asbin has been reincarnated already, after he was last killed, and she's actually mad about this now, and putting this in And putting this in perspective, it's like, you know, it is it does put a new spin on things, and I like it. You know, this is the sixth volume of a show, and to keep the new ideas coming and making them feel legit, that's great.
Mm-hmm. We'll definitely get to that episode in a little bit. Definitely,
Sure,
go
I'm
I
just
go
saying.
Oh yeah, I get you. Absolutely, kind of. It's pertinent, you know. But I'm curious. What did you think about when Ozpin asks Jin, you know, the final question of how do I destroy Salem, and Jin's answer, "You can't." What did you think about all of that?
You know, on the one hand, I don't want to be the cynical one, but at the same time, I've seen this kind of dialogue being thrown in other shows and movies. Like, you know, how do I do this? You can't. And I'm probably guilty. I probably wrote this in a fan fiction at one point. I'm not, you know, no writer is perfect, and you do come across cliches. But I think this is like a, you know, I get what they're trying to do, and it does work. But at the same time, there's like, how do I destroy her? You can't, and it's kind of obvious that he can, because you know that the reason he can't do it is because he probably still loves her somewhere. And
That's interesting to hear you say. Go ahead and finish. I'll go ahead and finish. I'll get to it in a minute.
No, but I think I'm pretty much done. It's like, you know, you know that the reason she tells him you can't is because she knows he probably still feels something for her. And again, next episode kind of touches upon that. But
It does. So a lot of people, right, say that, oh, he can't because Ruby has to. Like, Ruby's the one who can destroy Salem, right? Like, that's the general idea from some people. And then, you know, some people, like, you know, again, people focus on the I and the U of that. And, you know, again, I agree with you as well. Like, you know, Ozpin can't destroy Salem because he's in love with her. So that's why he can't destroy her. If he wasn't in love, maybe he could stop her, right? But personally, I like to focus on the destroy part of that question, right? And how that I'm interested to see if they do something different with that, you know.
How do you stop her instead of destroy her?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
or how do you,
that's
you
two
know,
completely
redeem
different.
her, right? Or how do you put her to rest, considering probably not exactly, you know, considering technically not alive anymore. Technically, however you want to refer to that. Big
How
air
do we
quotes.
prevent her from being in the state that she currently is in?
There you go. That works. I like that.
We're getting the classic Genie doesn't answer completely true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they do answer, but they
I
answer to the
swear.
barest minimum that they need.
Although they also answer in way more than what you need, considering Ruby just asked, "What is Ozpin hiding from us?" And Jin's like, "Okay, I'm going to tell you this entire story of his backstory."
She's chaotic neutral.
I mean, Jin could have also said, "Oh, Ozpin's gay. That's what he's hiding from you." Or,
Wow. So,
I mean,
you know,
they could have said, I mean, literally, we don't know what all Ozpin is hiding. They could have said that, you know, Jin could have come up and said, Ozpin really, really likes Crow or something like that. You know, a lot of things could have been said.
Why do you
she
think
went with
Crow
this
is
one.
offending him so much?
Well, was. That's why Ozpin gets so upset in the next episode. That's why he's so heartbroken and torn up, because Crow says, you know, because going into the next episode, Crow says, you know, the most unluckiest thing that happened to me was meeting you. And Oz is just like, oh, and I loved you so much. And you hurt my feelings like that. And that's why he disappears.
Oh my God. You know, I can just imagine J.K. Rowling listening to this episode and then gave her the idea to write the second Fantastic Beasts movie, even though that movie came out a bit before this.
And she doesn't need the right. She could just goes on Twitter and says, you know, someone's gay and everything's changed now.
Mm-hmm. All that they had hot passionate sex at one point.
To continue on, you know, with the meme, all you have to do is just wait for it, and eventually J.K. Rowling will tweet out that you or I or anyone else is gay, and well, you're just gay at that point. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just that's the way.
J.K. Rowling has decreed it to be.
And it's just the way it is at that point. You just have to be at that point. Even if you didn't know, even if you yourself didn't know, now you know.
G.I. Joe. Okay.
Getting right into it, episode 4. So that's how it is. This is definitely the kind of ending bit of the Lost Fable.
Yeah, it does
episode.
feel like an to.
It's basically, we've seen everything that Jin has to tell us. Jin goes back into the lamp, and now everyone reacts to Oz and what was revealed. And they react poorly.
Yeah, very much.
They
well,
react
honestly,
understandably.
like I said, you they react poorly, but at the same time, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I was definitely lied to. We find out that, Salem can't be killed at all, supposedly. And we find out, I think one of the greatest moments of this volume, everyone looking to Oz and saying, okay, what is your plan? And Ozpin, tears in his eyes, looks up and says, I don't know. The guy who's had a plan for almost everything up to this entire point, who seemed like he had it all together, that he had everything figured out, doesn't actually have everything figured out. That hits hard. And everyone, and I think everyone reacts to that exactly how they should, especially Crow, like finding out, hey, everything I've worked for, everything I've done for you, you made me feel like I had a place, like I belonged, and it was all for nothing. It was all to stave off the possibly inevitable. And then you tell me you still don't have a plan, like, and then Crow punches Oz in the face, or Oscar in the face. Technically Oz at that point. And, because he's upset, he's mad. It's great. It's a wonderful reaction to, a great little, background of world development and everything. Like, everything about that fits so perfectly well together. And it's really great to hear Maria step in and say, hey, all of you are spewing negativity. We're standing out here in the middle of the snow. And I also love the little tidbit, like, her saying, I'm still having to come to terms with this being humanity's second time here in this world. So get your shit together. And let's go.
Yeah,
I'm not dying out here because you foolish kids. I love it.
Yeah,
this is why Maria's a favorite.
Yep, like I said, sassy old people. Funny.
But then we move on into the same episode. We switch over to our villains. And we see Tyrion being his lovely, insane self. And
again, I'm sure that the actor auditioned for Joker at some point, and he said, "Oh, they didn't get me." Well,
I have a role. Well, Rooster Teeth has a role for you. It's this scorpion dude. It's this dude with the scorpion tail, and he is insane. Ham it up as much as you want, and ham it he does. So much ham, and it is lovely ham.
It's not kosher.
This is true. It's not. Definitely wouldn't want to eat this ham, but it's lovely
nice.
to see.
I'll even argue. Oh my god. Okay, you know what? This joke is even below me. I'm not even going to say it. Never mind.
Fair enough. But
thank God.
Gee, thanks.
But then we go into, I love the setup for the scene of Hazel, Emerald, and Mercury coming back to report to Salem that they failed. I love the setup for that, the music, how Salem acts, everything about it sets up Salem so well and really just shows how terrifying she can be and how scary she can be. Because the second Hazel starts to lie to her and tell her, it was my fault, I take full responsibility, table slammed into the wall, walks forward, the camera completely focused on her, and says, that wouldn't be fair, and screaming that wouldn't be fair, now would it? And just immediately shows Hazel, okay, this is what happens when you lie to me. And then immediately turns to Emerald, who is freaking out. Like, you actually feel a bit sorry for Emerald in that moment. Yeah, really. And, immediately Emerald does something that you wouldn't think she would do, that you wouldn't think Emerald would ever do, and that's immediately betray Cinder. And I think that shows, right, just how much of an effect Salem has.
Hmm. Well, she is the big bad, so
This is true. But then, as you said earlier, right, we have the reveal that to Salem that Osmond isn't dead, that he's reincarnated. And we hear, Watts and Tyrion, talking about how so soon, like they're surprised that he's reincarnated that quickly. And then we immediately, I love the setup of the grass starting to slowly crack and everyone's still talking amongst themselves and slowly starting to realize, oh, she mad.
to say the least.
And, I love how Tyrion tries to say, oh, well, let me comfort you, because, that's his thing. Like, he's very much madly in love with the idea of Salem and his cult. Let's, call it what it is. Tyrion definitely has a cult for Salem, even if it's just him. He definitely has a cult for this woman. But yeah, it's very much, it's great setup. It's pretty much, that's the big thing for this episode, setting up, finishing off with everyone's reactions to the story that's revealed to them, and then Salem. That's the big thing for this episode, and it's just great, I think. But your thoughts?
I think so too. You summed it up.
You really had a cult for this episode.
It's a great, again, I'm a huge fan of world building. This kind of three-parter gives me a lot of that. So it's definitely, as I said before, my favorite part of the volume. And it's
Agreed.
well.
Great. Great. You call this a three-parter? Sure. Yeah, it does kind of connect to each other more than.
It's not a true three-parter, but it definitely
Yeah,
one leads
obviously,
into the other. Especially episode 3 and episode 4, I feel. Episode 4 is definitely the payoff to episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
like I said, kind of the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, shall we move on?
Episode 5, then. The Coming Storm.
Yeah, this one felt like filler. Not a bad filler, but, after the strong, the last, after a strong 4-episode start, this comes and it's like, yeah, I do get it that, you kind of need one slow one to, so that, the viewers could adjust to everything they just saw, especially if you are like me and you binge the whole thing. What
did you think about, the fight scene in this episode? We learned that, very quickly in the very beginning, we learned that Neo's back. Neo is, here. She's back. And she's after Cinder. And we get a fight scene because of that. What did you think about all of that?
Yeah, like the fight scenes are always great. Okay, like every time there's a fight scene, I like it. No matter who's fighting, that's great. The thing is, the episode itself, in general, though, when I'm looking back on the whole thing, this is the one that I'm like, yeah, we could have done without most of it.
You think so? I think it makes sense to have a bit of a traveling episode.
No. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad episode. I get the purpose of it. It's just again looking back after just this strong backstory trilogy. Finding out about Osmond and Salem, and like how Osmond is still kind of heartbroken about it. How like Salem's reaction, everything, and then there's this. And then we get Ruby and Weiss searching for food and finding beans. Nice. What can I say?
I think I do think it's a nice come down episode, if you will, of everyone kind of adjusting. I think it does work for that for the most part. I would say that I think Neo and Cinder's fight shouldn't have been at the beginning of this episode. I think it kind of messes with the flow somewhat, watching them back to back, having the chance to do that. I think you should have had everyone kind of getting to the farm and kind of settling down a bit. That should have been the first half of this episode. Maybe a bit less of that, maybe a bit more of that. I guess it depends on who you talk to and what you're after. And then we should have had the Neo reveal and the fight scene at the end of this episode. I think that would have flowed better personally.
Could be. But also we do get a flashback.
You can't say could be. You got to give us your thoughts too, HC. Jeez.
Well, I can't really tell you what would have worked better. This scene could have also fit better in another episode. So like it could be the ending
Fair
of the
enough.
previous episode. It could be in another I can't tell you if this is specifically the good episode to put it. There are so many variations. What do you want from me?
I don't know, HC. That's the problem. I don't know what I want from you. I want feedback.
Then talk to
though.
Rush. You don't ask him anything.
It's Rush.
Nope.
What do you expect him to say?
Probably some dumbass meme.
This is true. That's the best we can expect from Rush. Rush lives up to standards. You don't, HC. That's the problem.
Wait. Hold on. This is new for me. Do you think I have standards?
No. But I have standards for you. I expect you to live up to them, and you're not. That's the problem. I have standards
you're
for
not-
Rush. He's gonna reiterate some old meme that no one cares about, and he lives up to that. Most of the time.
Well, I can assure
This
you,
bitch's
you're not,
ideas are
you're not,
empty.
you're not living up to my standards as well, buddy.
I mean, that shouldn't be surprising. It's me.
Yeah,
Your
the
standards.
not sassy old man, the grumpy one, sure, but you are not sassy. This is minus a few points.
I can't live up to standards that are beneath me, HC.
I drew you Ruby for your birthday, you ungrateful swan. I don't know.
Did you just call him an ungrateful swan?
I meant to say swine. Okay, sorry, my bad.
I am an ungrateful swan. I'm too damn
You know-
classy for you. That's the problem.
Y'all
My
two were just
God.
arguing about each other and expectations, and I'm starting to think that K. Rowling really does think you both are gay.
Only for
I
you.
don't know how to react to that.
Back to the
Right.
episode.
Yeah, but back to Ruby for 1 second. But like I said, I don't have much to say about it. But I was about to say that we do get a flashback from Yang, where she with Adam is Blake's future past partner. To those who don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we get a little Yang thinks she sees Adam. We also have a moment of that where Blake actually does see Adam on the train, and he very quickly disappears. If I'm not mistaken, that's not supposed to be a moment of her thinking she's seeing things. That actually is Adam there on the train.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that moment, and we have again Yang seeing a small flashback of the same thing, and in this moment we have a nice little chat between Blake and Yang, and we get a little character moment there with Blake saying, "Hey, I'll protect you," and Yang being like, and Yang kind of getting upset by that statement, and kind of brushing it off, but it's very clearly like, hey, this is Blake not really getting how Yang feels or what Yang wants from her, right? And again, it's a nice little moment.
This is something that it does feel like Yang is still kind of hurt from her separation from them because they only reunited by the end of
Volume 5.
the previous. You can tell that the distance did kind of leave a bad impression on Yang.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we get this in the first episode too, where Yang says that, hey, it's going to take some time, but I'll get used to it eventually, right? Like, she says something similar to that in the first episode as well. So it's nice to see that little bit of development kind of going throughout the volume. And even if it doesn't quite fit, I do love the moments here between Ruby and Weiss, and Ruby finding the canned food and being completely overjoyed by that and everything, and just Weiss, the rich girl that she is, immediately, canned food? Really?
Yeah.
We're going to eat out of a can? It's like, damn, Weiss, you're too damn rich.
Well, them rich people have standards.
Not standards. Canned food, canned living can be just as good as real food living. Canned food
Apparently
is real
not.
food.
Apparently not.
Apparently
Anything
not.
else about?
Rush thoughts.
Anything else? So anything else? We can move along.
Honestly, this episode got so off track that I kind of forgot which one we were talking about.
We're talking about episode 5, but I suppose we can move on.
Yeah.
So episode 6,
Alone in the Woods.
Despite, with the exception of describing my social life, what do you have to say about this episode?
So, 1, we get more of old sassy lady Maria, which is great. 2, I love the reveal personally of how kind of everyone's feeling here. How it seems like everyone just wants to quit. They want to give up. They've learned that Salem can't actually be beaten. They can't kill her. They can't do anything with her. So why not just leave the relic here? Why not just leave the relic here, give it all up, let it be someone else's problem? I love that. I love how it kind of shows how they're all feeling a little bit. But then...
This Grim freaks me fuck out.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention it when we talked about The Lost Fable, episode 3, but I loved the way the Dark Brother moved and the way they animated him, right? When we see him, like, that's so fucking creepy. But this Grim takes it to a whole new level. I feel
like I thought that the
apathy.
What was the horse riding one?
The Knuckle of is what it's called.
Yeah, I thought that one was creepy, but
this one takes it to a whole new level. Like, this entire episode is so good setup for this Grim. And it's so threatening as well. And all it does is just make you feel nothing. All it does is just make you feel tired, make you feel like you just don't care anymore. That's all it does. But it's just, but it does it. But the entire episode is set up in such a way that it feels completely threatening. Like, we even find out a little bit later that Maria says, hey, this Grim isn't that strong. It's not that deadly. But it is still deadly. Like, it's great. I love the way the Grim moves, how everyone acts here, how we find out that, the Grim is the one affecting their emotions, and kind of bringing forth that... Oh, go ahead.
There's also the big moment in the end where Maria turns out to be a silver-eyed warrior, and she helps Ruby activate her own silver eyes.
What did you think about that little reveal? Or were you not surprised by it all because you saw the intro?
You know something? I always watch the intro once just to get a feeling for the theme song in each season, and so it didn't really. Nothing from the intro really sticks with me as I'm watching the volume. So this was a bit. So I didn't really remember. I didn't really remember anything from the intro. So if you say that there's a moment she's using her silver eyes, I'll take your word for it.
She's not using it. It's very obvious. Like, we have Ruby, and we kind of focus in on Ruby's silver eyes, and then we revert to an image of Maria and her eyes, and it's like, okay, that's obvious. I see where this is going to go. Like, it's very kind of like it's symbolism, but very obvious symbolism, I feel. But there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, this is an entire episode devoted to setting up the apathy. And as someone personally who loves the idea of making the Grim feel like even more of a threat than they already are, this episode does wonders for that. And I love the little reveal of Maria reading through, the owner of Burnswick Farm is what this place is called. I love her reading through the owner's diary and kind of slowly coming to realize, okay, this is what happened to everyone here, because we have an entire moment of them finding, like, everyone who lived on the farm died, but they didn't, there was no struggle, there was nothing. It was just them laying down in their beds and almost like they just never woke up again. It's great. It's great. Everything about this is just great setup for just this Grim, and it's handled extremely well. An excellent episode.
Agreed. Anything else?
Rush?
I mean, I actually thought that was... Yeah, I already freaked out about the Grim. What more do you want from me?
Fair enough. The apathy is a great Grim. I can't wait to see other Grim they come up with after having seen this one.
It's interesting. It almost seems like they go with, or the theme now is they do like an intro big Grim, or like, not big, but like larger than normal.
Yeah,
A
very threatening looking
mid-tier,
Grim.
a mid-tier. What the fuck is that? Holy shit, Grim. And then the end is your gigantic ass monstrosity,
Oh, we'll get to him.
and we'll get to him.
I forget what the fandom called him too. I think there's a really silly name for him as well. Like the dragon, if I'm not
Teddy?
mistaken, was called the dragon. If I'm not mistaken, was called Steve or Dave. I think this one is also has a very silly name. I'm not sure what that is though. I can't remember. But we'll get to him in a bit. So episode 7 then, the Grim Reaper.
So I just wanted that the action scene with the Grim Reaper, which is Maria.
Maria Calavera, the Grim Reaper herself. Very Day
Yeah,
of the
so
Dead style
the
going on here.
like the flashback scene that shows her actually fighting,
Mhm.
that's a great scene. I
yeah.
love this scene.
Like it is just probably one of the best fight scenes we've gotten. Personally, my favorite fight scene in Volume 6, honestly. Almost. Like, it's definitely, it ranks high up there, I think, for many people, myself included. Like, it's amazing to see, and Maria just is an absolute badass when she was younger.
Mhm.
But I said I would bring it up. That fucking scream, though.
Yeah, I like, the Wilhelm scream, which people just use whenever they need someone to scream.
Mhm.
This needs to be like a new stock scream and call it something. Just so
My
when
eyes
you
just
hear
got
that,
fucking slash scream.
yeah.
Like, Christ, the voice actress, I do not remember her name, but she did this extremely well. Like, yeesh. You can really feel the pain that, that should be there, that is there, but she sells it too well, in my opinion. Like, yeesh.
Mm-hmm. Yeesh, the best way to describe this.
What did you think of Talk?
Of Talk.
This is the... I think she's a crocodile faunus or an alligator faunus. I'm not sure which one, but she's definitely a faunus. But the character that fights Maria and the one who slashes her eyes. Her name is Talk.
Okay. So first of all, like you say, I just it's coming back now that you said that. The fact that fun because up until this point, faunus seem to be more like based on cats. More than
You have
more
not
than
paid
anything
attention
else.
to the faunus at all, dear sir.
Yeah, really.
Wait.
No, you.
Wait.
I'm not waiting.
Wait, for the love of God, wait.
Racism.
Like,
already, we don't even have faunus in our world, and look at how racist you are.
Most of the time, and I'm the main.
Most
the main
of the
faunus
time,
character.
jeez, you are racist.
Okay.
Name on your hand how many cat-like faunus are there?
Let me fucking explain this before you say anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the thing. What I mean is that the main faunus character that we see from the main cast is Blake, who is based on a cat. I know there are also rabbits. I know that. If there's any other animal, I don't recall at the moment. But at the same time, I didn't expect to see alligator from this. So that's cool.
You did see in like the first 2 episodes monkey faunus and chameleon faunus.
Sun.
Again,
Lilac chameleon.
Well, let's say it like this: monkeys, cats, and bunnies are not the type of animals that can kill you.
Bunnies are pretty fucking savage.
We've also seen bat faunus, spider faunus. That's Volume 5.
Adam Taurus is a bull faunus.
This is true, bull faunus.
Whatever, I don't care anymore. I don't care.
Fair enough. But yeah, it's definitely...
8C, anytime you think you can win, just remember who you are talking to.
Yeah, I know. I'm talking to the devil itself, apparently.
I do get where you're coming from, right? Like, it was a bit of a shock seeing an alligator or crocodile faunus.
No, not necessarily a shock. I'm saying, you know what? That's cool. I like it.
I get where you're coming from, right? Like, it's cool, it's neat, and it's definitely a bit.
But no, you need to come here racist then. Yeah, You
Because
can,
you
you
said
can.
there,
I
you
see.
just made like a completely odd statement saying, "Yeah, most funnists are based off cats."
Yeah, you did.
What?
That's
Okay,
very racist.
okay.
of you.
Okay. So this was bad wording on my end. I meant to say that most fantasies we see are not based on violent animals. Ones that can kill you.
What's that supposed to mean, HC?
Like I said, cats can't kill you. Bunnies can't kill you unless
sure-
you're Rush, apparently.
Well, no. I mean, have you seen Monty Python? Bunnies can kill you.
Jesus Christ!
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough on the Mighty Python thing. But here's the thing: that's a comedy. It's not real.
That we know of. There could be a bunny out there that has killed someone.
Okay, before you start sharing how
Back
Bugs
to the-
Bunny can kill us all, moving on.
Back to the episode. Yeah, we learn, a lot about Maria's backstory. It's handled extremely well. It's great to see. Love it. And, I'm going to point out the small little Ruby's nickname for Jean on her scroll is Vomit Boy still. Nice little tidbit. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scene of Argus, though, and getting to see that. It's a beautiful shot, personally. I love that shot.
Yeah.
we get
That's
a few-
when I saw it, I actually went, whoa. Oh,
Like, we get a few shots like that. We get a few shots of, like, just scene shots like that. And, like, this one and a few others, and another one we'll get to later, are just beautiful to see. Like, absolutely gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
But
Agreed.
the next big reveal, we get to see Jean's older sister.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think
Yeah,
about
that's-
Saffron Arc and her wife, Terracotta Arc?
Well, for one, I do want to bring this up in terms of representation, that they don't make a big fuss out of the fact that she's married to a girl. I like that. Thank you. And again, they were cool characters. I enjoyed them for when we got to see them.
Yeah, I think they fit well and work well, and I love the designs of both of them. They're both very adorable looking, very cute. And, again, it fits well and it just works, right? And I love the kind of back and forth that Jean has with Saffron, his older sister, as well. Like, it's definitely, you can feel the family vibe.
Yeah, you can feel that they're.
Also, another thing I really loved about this episode is when everyone finally gets back together and they meet up. I love the little hugs that everyone gives everyone. Like, you see, I love, the little side hug that Blake and Jean have together, right? I love that. It's adorable. The hug between Rin and Yang. It's adorable. Like, more character interactions between characters who don't normally interact. Do more of that. You do it so
again,
well.
it does give you the feel that all of these people are actually true friends that like each other.
Mm-hmm. Also gives people way too much ammo for shipping.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of people, the amount of ships
honestly,
this show has.
Yeah, one, we know. Two, I think with every fandom, like every two characters that hug at least once are like shipped immediately. So yeah, nothing new, but it seems really popular with this according to what you're telling me.
This show's fandom takes it to the nth degree, though. But anyways, yeah, just a lot of a great backstory episode and a lot of good little small moments in the current day too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Also, a lot of little, again, a bunch of adorable moments. So I guess, any other thoughts? Rush, HC?
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Okay then. Episode 8, Dead End. I guess I'll start us off. I love the ridiculousness of these guards. These guards are entirely over the top.
Yeah, these guards are amazing. I love them.
So
because
I found out that
because they're so.
Oh, go ahead.
Because they're so stupid.
Mm-hmm. Like it's completely over the top, and I adore it and love it. But from what I understand, some of the fandom didn't seem to take to it as much, or I don't think they minded the guards. I think their big problem was our big character reveal for this one is Cordovan, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently a lot of
Um,
people didn't like her. We'll kind of get to a bit of the reason why a little bit later, but I enjoy Cordovan, and I enjoy how over the top her and these guards are. It is wonderful.
yeah. Usually I enjoy it when something like the army or some other big organization is being a bit mocked at in this kind of fantasy
Well,
world. So
I do think like
I enjoy that.
I do think this is supposed to be like the dregs of Atlas, right? Like Argus is where they send people who, yeah, we don't really like you. You're not as good, so we're just gonna send you there, so we don't have to deal with you in the main Atlesian force. Like you'll probably get to actual Atlas, and you'll see people not act like that. They'll be a lot more serious and a lot more presentable, I suppose you could say. But I still enjoy kind of the over the top nature that this group has. It lends itself well, I think, to this world.
Yeah. And another moment I like that Team Ruby tells Jean about everything they know about Oscar, and he freaking
he gets angry.
he doesn't let out. He doesn't let up. He snaps at him big time. And I do like it because at the beginning he has evolved since everybody gave Jean was kind of like the goofball of the group, either his own team or the entire cast, and to see him like reach his limit, it's a good character moment for him.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
Like it really sets up kind of again how he's feeling and what he's thinking, and it goes back into like everyone else is kind of thinking that as well. It's just Jean is the one who has the outburst because he lost Pyrrha, and he's very much. Does that mean her death was for nothing? Right, like he's still definitely grieving over her. He's still definitely not gotten over that yet, and this just calls back to that. Right, like he still feels that way. He still has a problem with all of this. It's great. It's just a wonderful moment.
And it even carries the note over to the next episode.
It does. And at the end of this episode, we learn. I love the moment between Maria and Ruby, and Maria starts teaching Ruby about the Silver Eyes and how to use them. That it requires you to be have a good friend, to get into a certain mindset about wanting to protect people. And we learn that so apparently because of the flashback we got from Jin, that apparently Silver Eyes come from the god of light. And that's something that Maria learned herself due to that flashback. And we also learn, I love the, her hitting Ruby on the head and stuff like that. Just adorable little moment. We learn a bit about Maria's semblance as well, that she calls it preflexes, where she can react to stuff almost before it happens. A bunch of good little backstory stuff, and a great little conversation between Maria and Ruby. I also love, personally, the acoustic version of, I'm not a big music person, so forgive me if I'm wrong. Yell at me in the comments below. I think it's an acoustic version of Red Like Roses. I love that little tune. It just does. It works so well. It's great. Thoughts?
No, I agree.
Rush. Yeah, I think it was actually really cool to get the semblance background, because that really just puts into back into perspective her fighting and how really hard it must have been for her to actually lose a fight like that. Something that she couldn't even have beaten. Like, nobody was getting out of that situation.
We didn't mention it. Did you understand what Talk's semblance was in the previous episode? Did you kind of figure out what that was? Talk was the character.
We talked about it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Crocodile?
Oh no, I said her semblance though.
Oh, her semblance. Yeah, that was like the time.
Yes.
The crap one, right? Where she had the watch. Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll wind up the watch in for 60 seconds, and she is invulnerable. She is completely. It's apparently she's completely invulnerable for 60 seconds. That's kind of the idea there, which is actually really neat. And again, it's just I love the creativity behind the semblances. I should point out, preflexes, the ability to be completely invulnerable for 60 seconds, and it's very obvious. Like she wears a clock. Her name's Talk. Like Okay, that's very on the nose with the name and everything, but again, it works. It's still creative in its own way, right? But yeah, if that's everything about episode 8, moving on, episode 9, Lost.
No, this is not the show where people are something. This is not that. This is something else.
Mm-hmm. So immediately we start off with a moment between Mercury and Emerald. Really gives us an idea of how these two think and what they're thinking about, because it seems Emerald is having a bit of a crisis here without Cinder. And Mercury does not give a shit at all. What did you think about this moment?
Rush, do you have anything to say? I feel
Yeah,
like
I always got that kind of vibe from him, Mercury, that he's just doing what he wants to do, and he always thinks he's in. I mean, I know it seems dumb, but it almost seems like he thinks he's in control.
Mm-hmm.
Emerald actually has a reason. So I guess because we kind of see how in the previous volumes how Mercury and Emerald were picked up by Cinder.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was under two completely different circumstances. So I do understand why they have two different views.
Yeah.
Like Cinder basically saved Emerald from a life of, well, whatever it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
Mercury, on the other hand, she was going for her dad, and she just came upon him when he basically said, "Yeah, my dad just tried to kill me, so I have really nothing left to do. I'm down."
Yeah, I mean, he's very much. I trained my entire life to kill people. I killed my father. You came along, giving me the opportunity to kill more people. So why not? I get to do
Yeah.
more of that. And then again, like you said, we have Emerald, who Cinder raised me. She taught me everything I know. She cares for me. And Mercury's immediately like, no, she doesn't. You're an idiot. She does not give a shit about you. I don't give a shit about you. Get your shit together, or leave, or just keep me out of your shit. And they both get really, and Emerald gets upset about that, and we kind of see how Mercury very much controls that fight a lot, and how Emerald's definitely very off kilter without Cinder around, without Cinder to kind of essentially tell her what to do. Like, she definitely depends way too much, and a lot of people have said that, oh, this means we're probably going to get a Emerald redemption story thing. Maybe, maybe not. I guess it depends on how things happen and where they go. But again, I think it's really great to finally get a bit about Emerald and Mercury and kind of learn their backstory and more about not so much their backstory, I suppose I should say, but learn more about their characters and what they think and how they feel. And we end that little scene with Tyrion interrupting and just being great and telling Mercury that, hey, you're not in control. You really, really don't get it, do you? In his very own creepy, usual way.
Agreed, and also, again, I do want to point out that I notice it more with the flashback scenes that the fight scenes are top notch. Real, I love the fight scenes, especially in the past. There's something really heavy to the movement, or the blows that each character is given or taken. I don't know what it is, but there's something about the battles shown in the past that really gets it.
It does. It works really well. But the same episode, we get another big scene. What did you think of Jean seeing the statue of Pyrrha?
This was sad. I won't lie to you here.
This hit a lot of people, from my understanding. So how did it hit you?
Because again, correct me about last season if I don't remember this correctly, but Pyrrha wasn't really mentioned in the last volume.
Not a lot.
Which
we had the small moment where Jean called out Cinder, but that was mostly it. She's
been
very
but at the same time, you could make the argument that since volume 4, he has started to move on. He has started to get over it a bit, even though he's still sad. But then you get So this was a bit of a heavy reminder that yeah, she is gone and she won't come back. But at the same time, it didn't feel like it didn't feel like they're trying to cram it into your mind. It's just it was natural
Yeah, it
in my
felt like it
opinion.
fit very well, especially the conversation that he has with the red-haired woman,
Mhm.
who we don't know who they've never clarified, but the assumption is that that is Pyrrha's mom or someone related to Pyrrha, at the very least, right? Like it's a great scene, it's a great conversation, and the music that plays, if I'm not mistaken, is Forever Fall. It's very beautiful. And if I'm not mistaken, her name is Casey Williams, showing that she is definitely very talented, a very talented singer and musician. Once more. And I should mention, like, the entire RWBY side of things here is looking for Oscar because it seems like Oscar ran away. And at the very end of this episode, we find Oscar, and he has an outfit change. What do you think about the new design?
Good for him.
Fair enough.
Just like the old saying goes, if you're having a hissy fit, just buy a new outfit and you'll feel better.
This is true.
I'll buy anything.
Treat yourself.
I do, going back a quick second, I do really like the ending of the Jean and the Pyrrha statue moment and the red-haired woman, where you see Jean deciding like, hey, I'm going to rely more on my team, and Nora and Ren both kind of call him out like, hey, you can't keep doing this by yourself. We're here for you, so you can depend on us, you can count on us. And Jean accepts that and he says, hey, you're right, I've been a terrible leader, I'm going to do better, I'm going to make sure that I do depend on you and rely on you. I like that because it contrasts very well, I feel, with something we get a little bit later on from RWBY. But to end it off, what did you think about RWBY's, speaking of which, what did you think about RWBY's speech to Crow at the very end of this episode?
I like it. Mostly because until that point it was usually, Crow was RWBY's support. Until that point it was mostly she relied on him, and it's nice to see that even he can rely on her. It was nice.
It's also like, Crow's definitely been out of sorts, I guess you would say. Like, he's definitely lost a lot of his will to care and everything of that nature, and this is kind of her way of trying to bring him back and get him to care again. Personally, though, I don't like this speech as much. I feel like this speech we could have done without, and her just said, hey, Crow, if you want to come, help us out. If not, we don't care. We're not going to listen to you. You're not being helpful. This is the plan. Either help or don't. I don't think this should have been as much of a speech as it was, because I think there's a later speech that we get the very next episode, actually, that I think is much better. There's a much better speech with Crow, personally.
Okay, so moving on to episode 10.
Yeah, I guess if that's all the thoughts. Stealing from the Elderly. I do love this volume's names for their episodes. They're all great.
If I may reference a line from a game, this is like taking candy from a baby, which is fine by me.
We immediately get to see more of the guards. I still love these guards. They're great. Can't repeat it enough. These guards are great.
Yeah.
And the back and forth between Maria and Weiss on the airship is wonderful.
Yeah, and also I want to point out that it's a great seeing Team RWBY kind of forming a plan together again and actually working together again after because we didn't see them actually working together as a team since Volume 3, because in 4 they were separate. They only got by the end of 5, so it's cool to see them, that they're still working together and planning to each member's strengths.
Yep.
So
everyone kind of doing their thing. It's really nice to see again. Been a little while.
Yeah.
Now, we do get another speech with like the plan going awry and things going wrong, and Crow's immediately like, damn it, I shouldn't have let any of you do this. This is all my fault, and he gets very upset. And then RWBY has another speech with Crow, and this is the one I personally prefer more. I think they should have went with this one over the one we got in the previous episode. I think this speech really kind of sells what it needs to sell a lot better than the first one did. So I
Yeah.
think overall this is the better speech we get from RWBY. Like I really
I
like this one
I
a lot.
agree. I agree. This is the better one of the two, but I think both of them have the same purpose and they serve the purpose well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. I agree. Like, it works, but I do prefer this one more. But you're right. But the big reveal of the entire volume, we're a mecha anime now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Giant
Uh,
robot. What did you
yeah,
think?
giant robot. You know, would it be hypocrite of me to say that that it feels cliche when a franchise I hold dear to my heart is about fighting giant robots? I don't know, but it feels. I don't know. It's not like we didn't see them fighting robots in RWBY before, but it's like, couldn't you make this a really big grim?
I mean, we get one of those too, technically, as well.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like a robot.
I mean, you need a big robot to fight Big Grim, HC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair point, but I don't know. Maybe it's not necessarily the fact that it's a robot, but I've seen this type of robot before. I've seen characters find this type of robot before, even more threatening types of robots before. So I don't know. Eh.
That's fair.
It's not a bad fight by any means. The robot itself is kind of cool, but I've seen stuff like this in like people who are not watching or playing the same things as me probably not even figure this out. So,
That's fair. Again, moving, I guess, kind of going right into it, since these next few episodes do connect a lot. Episode 11, Lady in the Shoe, you talked about the mech fight and everything. I think I personally really enjoyed it. It's some great animation, seeing how everything comes
yeah.
together.
Again, don't get me wrong. Just because I'm not all for the robot thing, the fight itself is great.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone does have their thing that they're doing that helps them defeat the robot, which I really like. So
But
that's great.
we do have two of our characters off in another fight in these
Yeah.
episodes. Blake
Mm-hmm.
and Yang versus Adam. What did you
Yeah.
think about that one?
I do think I might prefer this fight compared to Robot because it's a lot more personal, and Blake and Adam have a history, as we know, and so seeing them fight, and Blake trying to kind of put him behind, and him trying to sort of for either force himself back into her life or just outright kill her. It's so it is. I do like it is interesting to see these two fight, and also I do like that we went from Yang still feeling kind of hurt by Blake to knowing that she's in trouble when she's not responding to her communicator thing, and she's rushing off to help and save her.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's great.
So one of the complaints I've heard about Volume 6, as it could have done this better. What did you think about the split between the Atom fight and the fight with the mech? I've heard a lot of people say that they should have focused on one, not both, that it hurts both for them trying to split and focus on both of them. What do you think? Or what do the both of you think?
I have something to say, but Rush, you want to go ahead?
Not really.
Okay, I'll do it then.
Rush,
I'll say
your
is
thoughts. I don't have any.
Yeah, they're just there.
It's fighting and the boom and the bangs and the fighting.
And the swing and the slash and the shing and the ding and the dong and the whatever insert words here.
And the slam and the pow and the bomb. But anyway, I think I see where these people are coming from, especially because I kind of had a similar complaint about this in the previous volume. But so why didn't I like it back then, and why do I like this here? Well, the reason I like this here though is that both scenes are fighting scenes, and all 3 episodes focus on these fight scenes, and that's and that's kind of it. Like this is the, you know, these are it only focuses on those. It doesn't cut to anything else in the middle of it, like the fight on Blake's home in the previous volume. Kind of cut to stuff that doesn't have really anything to do with fighting or not in all the episodes. It was a feature though. In here, there are two fight scenes. So you go from fighting to fighting. So it's not. It doesn't feel like there's a tonal shift or a focus shift. It's just it changes from a bigger fight to a bit of a smaller fight. A lot of great movies that are praised for their action sequences do that. So I don't see what people complain about here. But
Yeah, again,
that's
I
what I
agree.
think.
I like it. I think it helps that both fights are kind of connected a little bit. Like they both
That's true
are
too,
based
because
on the
Adam
same
Adam
problem.
essentially yeah, because Adam essentially intervenes the big objective.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you kind of do need to take him down in order for the plan to go according.
That changes a little bit. Like, even taking him down, like the plan's still kind of gone awry. Like taking Adam down doesn't really help the plan anymore. So there's no point in taking him down. So, there could have been ways they could have connected both fights a bit more, maybe, but also at the same time, like that's going to be hard to do considering Adam isn't exactly aligned with Cordovan, right? So I think if they
Mhm.
did something like this before, my recommendation would be to try and find ways to connect both fights more, right? And make sure both fights kind of overlap in a way where finishing one will help the other, or again, finishing one definitely will help the other in some way, shape, or form, right? Like find ways to connect the issues a little bit more and the fights a little bit more. But it still works here, right? Like it still works, it still does good for what it is, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not exactly a complaint I have, but I do get where like you said, I do get where people are coming from with it. Another big reveal this episode, though, Adam's face. We finally get to see it, and apparently he has an SDC brand on his face. What did you think about that? And his past, somewhat.
Mm, it's fine.
Very quick and simple answer. So,
Mm.
being within the fandom, like there's been a lot of back and forth about this and the representation of Adam and kind of how his character has gone, right? And it's probably a very vocal minority, but it's still, they're still vocal, I guess you'd say, who are very upset in how things ended with Adam and how this was all set up and the reveal of the brand and kind of how his character went and stuff of that nature. Some of it I get, some of it I understand, some of it I think is just,
I
people
think
being a little bit
I'll
overly
agree.
whingy. But I'm curious, like,
Uh, yeah,
anything you have to say on it? Either
I-
of you?
I'll agree. On the one hand, I don't really have a problem with the backstory or something, or the fact that he's branded, but the and the one thing I'll give the people here, like people in the fandom, is that Yang and Blake kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it. He's done. He's kaput. He's not
Yes.
coming back.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
I think it's pretty
the
clear.
Mhm. So when this happens, then you don't really have much to elaborate on that big reveal. So on the one hand, cool, we know something else about him, but at the same time, we can't really build up on it because he's dead. So
Well,
it's they could have just skipped to killing him and nothing would have changed. So yeah,
I think there
I
are
I
ways.
appre-
Oh, go ahead.
I appreciate the I giving him more. I don't. It's not that the idea is dead on arrival, but at the same time, um, it needed more to have some sort of an impact because now it doesn't matter. He's he's dead.
I think there's ways they can use it in the reveal, and there's a ton of stuff going back and forth between the very vocal minority and how people feel and see
Mm-hmm.
Adam and everything like that. Like a lot of stuff going back and forth in that discussion. And you hear the term wasted potential has been thrown around a lot with Adam recently, and the reveal for his character and how he was set up and his death. Like wasted potential has been a very big term that I think the RWBY fandom is sick to death of hearing at this point from some people.
But I'll kind of, like I said, I will kind of this specific thing because there's potential to that reveal, but again, you cannot throw the potential out the window by killing him.
Well, again,
Even
I
if
think
we
there's
can do
ways they can use it, and it still involve
like
Adam.
if
even
they
he's
can
dead.
use it, great. If they can use it, then great. But this is something that I also need to see the next volume to know, because we can go back and forth, do with this all day, but at the same time, you could be right and they'll actually do something with it, be it in flashbacks or some other form, or I could be right and they'll never touch upon this again. So until the next volume comes out, take it for what it's worth.
Oh yeah, and like the discussion on Adam could be an entire episode in and of itself, Like there's a lot there to discuss and talk about. But I was curious to hear like general thoughts on how you viewed him, his past, the brand, and kind of how his end came about. Anything you would like to add, Rush? He died.
Yeah, he died. No, it's just I'm trying to make kind of a middle ground here. I mean, yes, there is ways of potential, but like his time was coming anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I guess they just wanted to show what was under the mask. Like he was gonna die no matter whether they showed what was under the mask or not. I think that's what they just wanted. They wanted him gone. Honestly, I did too. His whiny behavior was annoying. So
a lot of people are going to be disappointed to hear you say that, but fair.
Go find some other bitch. Anyway, but yeah, and I mean, I guess they just did it for the mystery. I didn't really have any issues with it. Excuse me. I was fine with it. It just didn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
He died and we got the face reveal. I guess we figured out, why he hides behind a cooler mask than the rest of the people. They even mentioned that in the character short, right? Why does he get a cool mask?
It's been a little while since I've seen. I didn't watch that one again. I don't think HC's watched it at all. Have you?
I watched it, but I don't remember actually going to it.
It's been a long while since I've watched that one, and I didn't refresh my memory on that one, so I'd have to watch it again. This has mostly been about the show, but again, like the character short's also a good one. Later thing, I guess, But yeah, I get where you're coming from. I understand that. Again, it's I think I agree. Like it works for him. He's gone. He's done. We can move on and do other stuff with Blake and her character now, and potentially focus a little bit more on the idea of faunus, racism, and equality in this world, especially since we're going to Atlas and dealing with the SDC, which is supposedly where Adam got this brand, and where faunus, racism, and equality is definitely a big hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the hope, right? That we see a bunch of stuff dealing with that in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And we've kind of been talking a bit about episode 12, Scene Red here. We get another decent little speech from RWBY to Cordova, and I like this one as well. And it's also kind of used for a point.
Actually, since we were on the Adam fight topic, I do want to bring this up, because I'm sure if there are RWBY fans, they're probably waiting for us to talk about this. I feel that Wolf told me off mic in regards to this volume and RWBY in general, that Bumblebee, the Blake and Yang ship is one of the most popular in the fandom, and I think that fight kind of to me at least, this gave me a very distinct. There were a few moments where I felt like, yeah, this is what the writers are going for. This is what the writers are aiming for. This is not just fans overanalyzing this.
I think it's fair, right? Like, again, like I'm not a big ship fan. Just to
make sure, zero problems with it. On the contrary. On the contrary, you want this? I'm one of the shippers, okay? Sign me the fuck on, okay? I'll make fan art for you if you want to. But I'm just saying, what I just want to bring up is that I think this is kind of on the way to become canon.
The voice actress for Blake, I think her name's Erin Zek. She definitely agrees with you. She loves the idea of Bumblebee.
Okay.
She absolutely adores it. So she's all for
there
it.
you go. There you go. I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes we did that Blake is my favorite character in the series. There you go. There's your reason.
So I'm not a huge ship person. Like, if you've watched the Berkcast and the Outcast, you'll know that by now.
He doesn't like the Titanic. He just doesn't like cruises in general.
Yeah, very scared. Water in general. No mix.
Neptune.
James Cameron, the Avengers will never beat Titanic, even though they did. Re-release the movie, and the iceberg will be voiced by Wolf. There you go. That's all you need. Because I'll buy the entire tickets.
Actually, I did root for the iceberg. It destroyed the ship. That's the best thing. That's the best character. It got rid of the ship.
He hates ships.
Iceberg deserves more respect in the Titanic, and it didn't get any. And it should have won the Oscar for killing the Titanic. And it didn't
for killer performance. There you go.
Yes, it should have, but it didn't. The iceberg was robbed. But anyways, I'm not a big ship person, so I personally don't necessarily see it as a Bumblebee ship thing. I do see it as more like these two growing closer together and growing, closer as partners and friends and, learning more and more to rely on one another and stuff of that nature. Like, I do get it. I do get where people are coming from. And as you said, I see nothing wrong with it. It is a cute ship. I do get and understand why people love and enjoy it. I'm just not a big ship person. But that doesn't mean I can't get behind it or that I won't get behind it. It's fine. Nothing wrong with it. Fully support for it if that's what they decide to do, if that's what the writers decide to do and stuff of that nature. So.
Yeah.
But I would like to point out one thing with episode 12. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on... So, we see Ruby go off to do her speech with Cordovan, and she uses that as a way to get close, and she jumps into the barrel of this huge cannon on the robot to try and destroy the robot's the cannon and everything like that. And it's very reckless of her to do that, right? She's very much... I enjoy the idea here of how Jean is learning to rely more on those around him and use their strength to support his own. It does come across like Ruby is trying to rely less on others and more her own strength because she doesn't want to lose anyone anymore. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. What do you think?
I mean, that's why her silver eyes get activated in they almost get activated in the last volume or the previous volume when she's about to watch John almost die.
Mm-hmm. Or Weiss. Well, yeah, Jean and Weiss, yeah.
John and Weiss, I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I bring it up, right, because it seems like I'm curious if the show will do anything with this. Like, is it going to have someone call out Ruby for her recklessness and her only willing to put herself in the most danger to protect other people's lives and not really depending on her team like she possibly should be? Like, it seems like Jean is learning more to do, right? I'm curious if the show will do something like that. And do you think they should? Do you think it's fine Ruby acting the way she is?
I think that in this specific instance that, again, like we mentioned, giant robot attacking, everyone's trying to stop it. And, Blake and Yan go off finding Adam. I guess it's one of those moments where, honestly, you need to do what you need to do in order to not lose. And if it means losing one team, it's probably for what's the phrase I'm looking for? There's something like the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So I think she sees an opportunity and she goes for it in order for her team to win. Even if it means that she'll get killed or badly hurt or something, she's just doing what it takes to win the fight.
Fair enough. Okay. Interesting. Well, I guess kind of moving on to episode 13, we get our look at the Big Grim, the giant kaiju Grim. So now we're a kaiju mecha anime now. We fight giant monsters with mechs.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I wanted to write a RWBY cross Godzilla fanfiction, but I don't have the time to do that. But yeah, I'm a big kaiju fan, so anything that
As long
reminds
as
me
it's
of
not
it.
RWBY X Godzilla.
Oh, God.
Bad something.
Rush. Bad.
Actually, if the Godzilla fan can nerd out for a second, the third iteration of Mecha Godzilla in the Godzilla franchise, in the Millennium series as it's called, it's actually called, which is Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. It's called Godzilla X Mecha Godzilla. So who knows? Rush might be onto something here.
Don't give my ideas. Don't give my joke ideas validation.
Especially, no one wants a love ship between RWBY and Godzilla.
But it's not a love ship. It's supposed to signify a battle connection in what I just mentioned. So,
That one guy
I think
out
I've
there.
said all that I need to say for the rest of the episode.
Fair enough.
whatever.
Episode 13,
But
we
yeah.
get a quick look at Neo and Cinder, which it feels a little bit out of place at the beginning. Maybe should have been closer to the end, but I do get it. Like, a little bit look at them. They get a new look. They're moving on to Solitas and Atlas as well. We go to, I love the art style flashback here for RWBY decides to take on the giant kaiju. She's going to use her silver eyes on it, trial by fire and all of that. And so she, and I love the way they show RWBY's like, hey, this is her getting centered and focused. Let's show what she's thinking about. And it's just this 2D art style flashback of previous scenes, right? I love that. It looks great.
Yeah, the flashback. I think it's flashbacks. I recall, and I think it was in either volume 2. I think. Either 2 or 3.
Like, we see a lot of different scenes in past volumes in RWBY's, like, these are the good thoughts I'm thinking about. These are the place where I'm trying to center a mind and try and thinking about protecting people, right? Like, that's what she's thinking about. That's what, I love the way they show that, right? Like, the art looks amazing. It looks good. And it's just nice to see those scenes done up in a more 2D styled manner, right? And then finally, like, RWBY falters. She's not able to do it properly, so we get the use of Jin. We get to see Jin again, and RWBY basically uses Jin as a way to stop time. What did you think about that? A lot of people called this a bit of a Deus Ex Machina. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, there's some truth to that, because it's not necessarily
disagree, but go ahead.
Okay, because there is a Deus Ex Machina is basically when something just shows up because it needs to show up and for the hero's benefit.
It's an act of God, right? Like, it's basically the heroes can't possibly win, so boom, here's their way to win. Out of nowhere.
These are technically gods.
This is true.
And I think it's kind of like that because again, when you take into account the scenario, and we just talked about it previously for the previous episode, that it's RWBY, sacrificing and kind of pulling off that stunt that could get her killed. And again, the team is kind of at a disadvantage here. So then have this magical being, fixing this. I can see where people are coming. Now the thing is, Deus Ex Machina is not necessarily a bad thing, and it's not necessarily something that you can make work, because we did establish the gene, we did establish that it has some great power.
A Deus Ex Machina comes out of nowhere. I think this was established previously that that Jin does stop time when she's summoned from the lamp, that everything around you freezes, right? So I think it does work, and it makes sense. And
what people mean, it's not necessarily that it's out of place or anything, but it's just that we can maybe people forgot about this. Again, you probably know as far as I am, as far as I remember. People this is not a show that comes out with all of its episodes at one go.
Yeah.
Like there's a new episode every week.
Yeah.
So maybe when you watch it like that, you don't, when you get to, this is episode 13, the Jean was in last scene in episode 4, that means 9 weeks pass. Maybe with breaks, I don't know. But
So it's Chekhov's gun instead of Deus Ex Machina.
So yeah, kind of. But the thing is, Chekhov's gun is looked in a more favorable way than Deus Ex Machina. But so people might look at this and say, "Oh yeah, I forgot this exists." Like because it's mentioned at the beginning, then you need to remember this, when it comes back later on. So I don't know.
Fair, but I do disagree. I think it's still fresh enough, but like you're right. Like watching it week to week does change. Like getting to sit down and watch it all in one go absolutely changes how you feel about it compared to sitting down and watching it one episode every week. Like it's absolutely a different feeling. It's absolutely like, the cliffhangers set on you more, the thoughts, the ideas behind it, all of it changes a lot when you're able to watch it, in those two different ways. Like a lot of things change in how you view and stuff like that. I can absolutely agree and see where you're coming from on that. I do disagree. I don't think it's a Deus Ex Machina at all. Simply put, because Deus Ex Machinas do come out of literally nowhere. This doesn't. How the lamp and how Jin works is set up and established previously. So it's not out of thin air or out of nowhere. But yeah, I get where you're coming from a little bit, at least anyways. I still disagree, but I get it. But we get RWBY going through her flashback again, and finally we end on the image of Summer. We get an actual full model, modeled version of Summer, not just a piece of art or a photograph anymore. And we get to see kind of her full model. I like that. It's a great little scene, and like everything about her using her silver eyes here is a great scene, I feel. And just the ending of Summer and how RWBY sees her and stuff like that is all great.
Yeah.
A lot of people complain that Summer looks like RWBY. I'm like, yeah, that's
Well,
kind of to be
Her
expected.
mom, right?
That's that's the
legit.
that's
Summer
the point.
is, if I'm not mistaken, Summer's model is based off of actually based off of RWBY's model as well. The same as Raven is based off of an older model of Yang too. So it does make some sense. Like, but it's okay. It's not meant to be anything major. I'm sure if they actually have Summer in a flashback that's actually in the show, that's more than just kind of a still image, we'll get more from her, right? We'll get to see like a much nicer looking model, stuff like that. So not really a major complaint to have. Yeah. But I found it funny. But we get a nice wrap up. Cordovan lets everyone go and says, "Okay, you've convinced me. I was kind of in the wrong here. It's okay. So go on to Atlas. No one will notice, whatever." It's a nice little wrap up. It's a nice little scene.
Yeah, okay. One last way to wrap this season up, and we set up the next volume.
Yeah, we get a nice little moment of everyone on the plane flying to everyone on the airship flying to Atlas, and kind of all talking about how everyone kind of did their thing and everyone was amazing. And seems that Oz is still looking out for them somewhat, even though he's not around or not sticking around as of right now. Because Oz helps Oscar try and save the airship when it almost goes down. And Oscar reveals that. And then we finally get our first view of Atlas. Another great shot. I love this view of Atlas. It is beautiful and gorgeous. Very Midgar-ish Final Fantasy VII vibes. I'm sure that's done on purpose, though.
Probably. Okay, so we've gone through the entirety of the volume.
Yeah, and our cuts in our ending credits thing is we get to see Salem readying herself for war by using her ability to change how the Grimm evolve and stuff like that. Very interesting stuff. Yeah. Very good setup. Looks like we're going to have a very big war in Atlas coming volume 7.
Essentially, Salem is Thanos saying, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
Which means volume.
uttering the line, sometimes, it's better to do things yourself than rely on others.
So I guess now the main thing that's going to happen is that Volume 7 is going to end with Salem killing everybody, with the exception of Team Ruby, and then Volume 8 will be about bringing everyone back and stuff.
Again, half. Thanos is always halves, always balance with Thanos equals halves.
Well, Salem is not Thanos, right?
No.
She's
But
half
so-
evil.
This is true. Technically. She was good at one point, maybe. Hard to say.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see until it comes out then.
Ending thoughts, though. That's, all of the episodes gone over, done. Ending thoughts. Anything you would like to say?
Like I said, enjoyed that season. Definitely a step up from season 5. Not season 4 is still my favorite, but I enjoyed season 6, volume 6 a lot, and I bring
lot of
on
people
volume
disagree with
7.
you about
I'm
that.
ready. Well, that's
About
the
volume
wonderful
4
thing about
being your favorite.
opinions.
But yeah, absolutely. Like, it's interesting to hear people. Like, I enjoy and love volume 4 and volume 5 as well. It's interesting to hear people say, like, others say as well that, volume 4 is my favorite. That's actually very interesting.
Mhm.
Having seen volume 6, I don't know if volume 4 or 5 are my favorites. But I think they very much stand well above a lot of the others. But volume 6 I think has eclipsed them for me somewhat, and as of now might be my favorite. This could change. Need a bit more time with things to really get my thoughts out and kind of watch back through stuff again. But as the fan, the big fan here, I do have to say I'm actually a little bit excited for volume 7 and what that might bring in the future. I've talked in the past a bit about I've loved seeing Rooster Teeth grow with RWBY, right? As a production company, as an animation company, seeing them grow and learn and kind of, again, seeing them falter here and there and pick themselves up, like, Volume 4, Volume 5, they tried some new stuff. They switched over to new software. They experimented by having the group completely split and stuff like that. And yeah, it faltered a little bit. It didn't exactly hit the way they wanted it to. But seeing Volume 6, to me, it definitely feels like they've hit their stride, and I think they've found what works for them, and they've really kind of nailed down their production, setup and pipeline and all of that, right? So it does make me a little bit excited for Volume 7, a little bit hyped for that, because I can't wait to see what they do with it, and I can't wait to see how far they can take that, how much they can improve from Volume 6 to Volume 7. And I'm curious to see how much they can improve after that as well. If they did something that's on par with Volume 6, that's great, that's enjoyable, but I want to see them do more now. They've shown how good they can be. I want to see how much better they can be now with all that experience, growth, and learning they've had to do with these previous 5 volumes.
Well, we'll have to wait and see.
But if that's all, this has been it for the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed.
We finally got this done.
Now we can move on to other shows and things that you might want to see. If there's anything you want to say, do so in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with us on our thoughts about RWBY Volume 6? Do you disagree with us? Is there anything you would like to hear us talk about that we didn't talk about with RWBY? Is there other things you would like to hear us talk about that we've not talked about at all? Like other shows, books,
Are there
movies,
things you wish we had never said or will never talk about?
This is true. There's many of those, I assure you.
Yep.
But if
No
you want to...
regrets.
If you want to do all of that, do it in the comments below. If you want to get in touch with us directly, you can do so on Tumblr at Berkcast Team. That is our place there. It kind of gets updated. We do look at it. We also have a Twitter, which has not been updated in a while. That's mostly just updates of our... That used to be mostly, pretty much only, posts of when we post it to YouTube. Rush needs to fix that. It's broken. It's not done that in a while. I'm
I
calling
think
him
you
out.
have to click post to Twitter when you're uploading a video, which I always fail to do.
We'll see. However, I'm calling him out in the video now, so now he has to fix it and do it if anything's wrong with that. He won't. He's very lazy. But anyways, we hope you enjoyed.
Hopefully it won't take us so long to get to it's out.
Volume 7. Hopefully, we'll get to it a lot sooner. But with all of that said, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you join us next time for whatever that might be, as well as the next volume of RWBY when it airs. I've been Wolf.
I've been HC.
I was Rush.
And until next time, take care.
Bye.
See ya.